Hello and welcome everyone to our first Agile Boston podcast for 2026. I'm Joe DeAngelis and I am excited to kick off the new year with a very old and dear and ancient and whatever colleague and friend, executive, technology executive, senior vice president, CTO, Najaf Gillani. Najaf, you're looking fantastic. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Joe. It's great seeing you. We have known Joe since the dinosaurs walked the planet, so feels like it's been like decades, you know. How have you
Decades.
been? Yeah.
Decades. He moved to the West Coast to get away from me, but
There
technology has
was a
brought us together again.
there was a reason, Joe. There was a reason.
Okay, so now Jeff, welcome to Agile Boston. Welcome and thank you for accepting our invitation to speak next Wednesday, March 4th. It's an interesting day here in Boston, by the way. I know you're out in California and it's probably sunny and beautiful. Here, if I look out my window, it's completely white. We're in the middle of getting a nice blizzard here. But it's very beautiful, at least for now, until you got to clean it up. But now, Jeff, we're talking about something really exciting and not just what we typically talk about, which is food and all that stuff, but we're going to talk about something that's really important to the community that you have a lot of insights into, and that is AI becoming an execution engine and really changing the way companies are working. But before we get into that topic a little bit, I'd like to give you a moment just to introduce yourself to the community. Let them know who you are.
Thank you, Joe. Yes. Like we talked about previously, I'm ancient. I've been actually in technology for over 25 years. Joe and I worked together probably around 26 years ago, 27 years ago, yeah, something like that. I've had many roles since then. I've been involved in obviously developing all the great email engines that we developed together, then, moved over to the gateway development, and then took on, more of the management roles, starting with the retail tech at Macy's, Walmart, eBay, and most recently with Crane NXT. My experiences obviously has been, very focused on software development, enterprise platforms, and most recently, I've been thinking a lot about AI and execution together, and I'm writing a book on that too, which we will talk about later. But anyway, so that's me. I'm based here in San Francisco, and where it's a tech hub. So really excited to have this conversation with you.
Fantastic, fantastic. And what prompted me to reach out to you was a really nice post that you put on LinkedIn talking about AI. You had said, it's quietly becoming the execution engine. I think it's very boldly becoming the execution engine. And then about halfway down your post, you mentioned something very interesting, which was that, like we talk about with Scrum and Agile, it doesn't solve problems for you, but it exposes the problems that you have. And and you had mentioned that the companies that succeed with AI are not just trying to figure out how to use it, but they're changing the way they actually execute. And I think that's going to be the gist of what you're going to be talking about in the presentation next week. So can you comment about that a little bit more?
Of course. So, Joe, as you know, execution has been the biggest challenge that most of the organizations have, not now, but previously as well. But what AI, there's a lot of buzz about AI, solving all the problems. But AI is an enabler, just like how Scrum is an enabler, right? So, it enables the teams to actually be more efficient. So AI helps you surface any execution challenges that you have, but you have to look at the entire ecosystem of the operational execution and find out where the breaking points are and then try to fix them. So it doesn't really start with AI implementing AI and then it actually solves all the problems for you. It actually is about identifying where the breaking points are, where things are falling through the cracks, and addressing those in the large ecosystem of execution.
Yeah, that's a really good point because there's a lot of fear in the industry. We're seeing a lot of people losing their jobs, and people are saying, how do I exist now in this new world with AI? And you just brought it up. I mean, if those who know how to use AI to uncover those issues and then use AI to help solve those issues, those are the people that are going to be very valuable in a company. Is that what you've seen also?
Indeed. I think it's the adoption, first of all, acceptance of the fact that there's a very powerful tool that exists out there. So if you remember from back in the day, we were involved in building amazing automation tools, right? So doing all this magical stuff, and that was, like almost 3 decades ago.
And they
But now,
sometimes even worked.
Exactly. But AI is as a tool is very powerful, and in the right hands of the professionals, if you use it the right way, it can solve many problems for you. But again, coming back to my previous point, it has to be looked at from a holistic standpoint, not from a very narrow standpoint.
And can you give an example of what you're talking about when you say that holistic standpoint?
Indeed. I've seen many operational teams fail because they are, either trying to implement a tool to solve a larger problem, but they miss out on a very basic. And I talk about this basics and fundamentals. I remember teaching my kids basketball teams all these basics and fundamentals. I think the basic of this is primarily identifying where AI can actually help you. Is it the ongoing same kind of workload that you are actually just going through manually that can be automated, that where AI can be a little more intelligent engine for you to be able to do all those things, slight decision making, building the right decision trees, and then fine tuning these AI models to be able to do what you'd like that AI model to do. So instead of doing that recurring back, these recurring repetitive exercises over and over again, you're basically teaching a tool, just like how you're teaching a professional to do certain things. You're teaching AI as one of those agents to be able to do all those things for you. And I've seen tremendous amount of results on that. But again, it actually can be implemented in different steps of the process. So in ecosystem, you'll see that there are spots within that ecosystem where AI is going to play a bigger role and a larger role than the other parts of the ecosystem.
Yeah, and that's a really, really good point. I mean, we talk a lot about developers using Claude, for example, to write code, and we talk
Or
about,
Replit. Yeah,
right,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
and we talk about, hey, that's a good use of AI. But the Standish Group several years ago had determined that the number one reason teams are failing is because of decision latency. The harder it is for teams, or the longer it takes for teams to get decisions, if they have to go up the executive tree and down, the more chance they have of failing. But the more you can get those decisions down to the teams, and the faster they can make decisions, the more successful they are. That's a great use of AI. How do we use AI not just to write code or do something that we were doing manually before, but how do we use AI, like you said, to solve problems in the ecosystem? So, for example, we can really lower our decision latency and be able to make better decisions faster.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. It's the speed to delivery, it's the speed to decision making, it's having those right decisions made at the right time. So it's, all that stuff that actually leads you to become a more powerful and more operationally excellent teams out there. So
So fantastic. So next week, Wednesday, March 4th at noon Eastern, you're going to be presenting and maybe just cover a couple of key takeaways people are going to get from hearing your talk next week.
of course. Takeaways next week is obviously identifying where the execution breaks are happening, how to become a more efficient, highly proficient, teams in terms of execution, how AI plays that role within the execution world, and what not to do. Obviously, do's and don'ts of the entire AI implementation and the use of that and stuff like that. So it's going to be an exciting talk. And I will obviously share my insights, my experiences. Obviously, I don't know everything, but obviously, been in the industry, been in Silicon Valley for quite some time. So hopefully, people can take away some great stuff from that
No,
talk.
I think they're going to really enjoy listening to you and learning from you. I think it's going to be great. They can get the experience that I've been lucky to have quite a bit over the years. So Najaf, thank you. How can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more or from you or work with you?
Yeah, the best way is to get in touch with me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn ID is Najaf Gillani. And you can also email me at jeffgillani@gmail.com. And all that information will be passed over to the listeners next week via, the notes that we share during the talk and after the talk.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, thank you very, very much for taking a few minutes with us today. And we're looking forward to seeing you next Wednesday, March 4th at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. All
Really
right.
excited. Really
With
excited.
that, thank
Yeah.
you very much, guys. And we'll be talking to you again very soon. Peace out.